Welcome in to Outkick the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. Also, your fearless leader that has not had very much sleep in basically 2 days after staying up late for the election and then going ahead and being live super early in the morning for the radio program. I appreciate all of you for hanging out with me. Right off the top here, I want to just unite at least the state of Tennessee and people who are in all 8 of the neighboring states. Go to fanduel.com/Clay right now, fanduel.com/Clay, and you get for a $5 wager, a $125 payout if Tennessee beats Arkansas. Anywhere in the state of Tennessee for new users, it's basically free money. Bet $5. You can win $125. FanDuel.com/Clay. Go get signed up right now. That's FanDuel.com/Clay. All right, let's talk about the election. The pollsters completely failed. This turned into what I told you it was going to be, a white knuckler of a night leading into the next day. I think the biggest loser here, believe it or not, is the polling industry in general, because I'm not sure how you can ever trust them again, given how wrong they were in 2020, following on all of the things they were wrong about in 2016. They're actually worse in 2020 with the results than they were in 2016. Democrats expected a landslide. They expected a blue wave. They expected to take a lot of Senate seats. They expected to trounce Donald Trump all over the country. And instead, we are still battling and counting votes to figure out exactly what happened. Right now, vote counting continues in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona. Michigan and Wisconsin are super tight, and there will be a recount and an examination of the vote in both of those states. What is the pathway to the president continuing to win? What would he have to do? Well, the Fox News desk would have to be wrong about Arizona, or he would have to win Nevada, and then he would have to hang on in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. The Trump campaign is saying they expect to win. The odds markets are telling you that Joe Biden is the odds-on favorite to be elected president. If every tally that is in place right now stayed in place, then this is pretty wild to think about. Right now, you are talking, think about how crazy this is, Joe Biden winning 270 electoral votes to 268. That would mean that the final vote would be coming from Omaha, Nebraska, and that final vote is keeping us from ending in a tie, which the President of the United States would have won in the House of Representatives. I want you to think about that for a minute. We are talking about potentially the closest electoral win by Joe Biden in any of our lives, and that is where we are trending right now. So there are many different moving parts going on. Last night, I told you that I thought it would come down to what happened in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and that the president would need to win 2 out of those 4, and that is where basically we still are. And remember, if you watch this show regularly, I told you that the 2 most important races would likely be Pennsylvania and Arizona, and that I thought the president was going to have to win both of those. That's effectively where we are right now. I'm not an elections expert. I can't tell you about all the numbers. I can't tell you about all the ballots and everything else. I can just tell you that the totality of this race was much closer than anybody, it seems, expected. And Donald Trump, if he loses, is going to come within a hair's breadth of winning the presidency. Okay, larger context. Big news here is that the Republicans appear likely to maintain control of the United States Senate. If you are a moderate, relatively speaking, like I am, that's a huge deal because it takes off the table court packing, ending the filibuster, any sort of radical move is off the table if the Republicans control the Senate right now. Right now, it looks like they are going to end up, I think, with 51 or 52 senators. Right now, if you look at the numbers, Susan Collins in Maine had the biggest upset win of anyone. There wasn't a single poll anywhere that had her winning. Right now, she's likely to win by 6 or 7 points in Maine, meaning the woman that she is running against is not even going to be very close. She's already conceded. So Susan Collins in Maine, huge upset win. Daines in Montana wins with ease. Lindsey Graham. Everybody remember writing about how Lindsey Graham was in trouble? He won by 14 points in South Carolina in his Senate race, despite over $100 million being spent in the South Carolina Senate race. He still won by 14 points. Tillis looks like he's going to win in North Carolina. We have a special election going on in Georgia, which may roll into January. And right now, Purdue is in good shape, potentially, to get 50% plus one and go ahead and lock in the Republican Senate majority. I would say worst case scenario for Republicans right now is you have two massive Georgia Senate races going on in January, which would cost hundreds of millions of dollars. And the Republicans would just need to split in those races in order to maintain control of the Senate. And even if they lost, I believe my math is correct, even if they lost, they would still, the Democrats, just have the ability to break a tie. So they would still not really have substantial control in the Senate. Also, there is a potential pickup in the Senate with John James in the state of Michigan. The last time I checked, he had a really small lead, and that is one that is worth paying attention as he tries to flip Peters, I believe, the incumbent in Michigan, and grab another seat for the Republicans. This is a big deal, all right? Also, for the sports fans out there, for the Alabama SEC fans, Tommy Tuberville. I don't know if I ever would have believed this. Former Ole Miss football coach and former Auburn football coach who beat Alabama memorably 6 times in a row and coined the phrase, fear the thumb, won by 20-plus points in Alabama. Tommy Tuberville is now set to be a United States Senator for the next 6 years. Big news. Big news that I hope is going to send an important message about the futility of identity politics and cancel culture. Donald Trump, regardless of how this election turns out officially, is on track to turn out the highest minority vote for any Republican since 1960. Let me repeat that, because on social media, all you hear is Trump is a white supremacist, Trump is a racist. Trump is on track right now to turn out the highest minority vote, Black, Asian, Hispanic, since 1960 for a Republican who is running for presidential office. If not for COVID, this race would have been a landslide. Joe Biden might narrowly be able to get into the White House, and he ran his entire campaign predicated on COVID. Trump trounces him, if not for COVID arriving in the country in February and March of this year. Now, a couple of additional thoughts that I believe are significant. If you are concerned, like I had to sit down with my own kids because they've seen so many different television advertisements and they're afraid based on who wins, we're going to be fine. I have to keep letting people know this election feels a lot like 2000 in Florida, okay? 37 days it took to figure out exactly who the president of the United States was going to be after Florida. We may have multiple Floridas going on this year, whether it's Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Georgia. There are a lot of places we're probably going to have to retally the vote because things were so close in so many different locations. But the key takeaway here is the next 2 years, there's not going to be very much that Joe Biden can do. With a Republican Senate, potentially, and or at least very close to a full majority in the Republican Senate. Worst case scenario now, if you are looking at Senate races, absolute worst case scenario is 50-50, and that doesn't feel very likely right now. It feels like Republicans are in very good shape to control the U.S. Senate. But even if it's 50-50, it's going to be almost impossible for Joe Biden to force through any kind of craziness like court packing, ending the filibuster, all of those things, because I don't believe all of the Democratic caucus is going to stand together, because there are a lot of conservatives, actually, who are Democratic senators, and I just don't think they're going to embrace craziness. I don't think Joe Biden really wants it. I think Biden, on some level, would appreciate if the Republicans kept the Senate. Putting into context, this is the first time, I saw my guy Ovik Roy tweet this out, this is the first time since the 1800s, that if Joe Biden wins, a Democratic presidential winner will not have a House of Representatives and a Senate supporting him. So we're likely to have mixed government here. That means the next 2 years, not a ton is going to happen, right? A lot of gridlock, which is fine with me. I'm fine with just letting Americans be able to take care of themselves. Don't let politicians screw everything up. And then by 2022, we'll have the midterms, but everybody's already going to be talking about what happens in 2024. And my prediction would be we're going to have 20 Republicans running in 2024, and we're going to have 20 Democrats. It's possible, depending on how this election comes out, that Trump could decide to run again and basically be the anti-Biden for the next 4 years, criticizing him and chirping at him the entire time. It's also and calling him an illegitimate president, ironically enough. It's also possible that Trump decides to ride off into the sunset, start his own media company, and we've got a legitimate battle royale going on in the Republican Party and in the Democratic Party to see who are going to be the nominees in 2024, because I don't believe Joe Biden is going to be able to run again at the age of 82. And certainly, if you end up with Trump winning, he's incumbенted out, and so you would have a wide open field in so many different directions. So the big takeaway I would have here is this was not a blue wave. It was not a red wave, but it was closer to a Republican 2020 than it was a Democrat 2020. Republicans are likely to pick up House seats. They are likely to maintain their majority in the Senate. And depending on how the final votes eventually come out, the president still has a pathway to end up triumphing in this election. I appreciate all of you. I know how crazy this is. I know how hectic this is, but I want to leave you with this idea. We elected a president in the middle of the Civil War. In 1864, Abraham Lincoln ran against his first general that he put in charge of the Union Army and won, okay? And that was a battle to see whether or not there was going to be a continuation of the Civil War. That's a pretty big deal in 1864, and we got through it. And in fact, you know why Lincoln won that election? Because he took Atlanta in September, and that convinced everybody as Sherman began his march to the sea that Lincoln was actually in really good shape to be able to win that election against McClellan, who was the general that he had put in charge of the Union Army to begin the war, and that he was then running against over whether or not the Civil War would continue. In 1944, we had an election in the middle of World War II that FDR won. These things are constantly preached to us. This is the most important election of your lifetime. I understand that argument. I don't really buy it very often because most of us are going to have long lives, and we're going to be told time after time after time, this is the most important election of our lifetimes. I congratulate everybody who came out and voted, no matter whether you were Republican, Democrat, or Independent. I hope that we get some clarity in the near future over exactly who won. But I appreciate all of you for being such big fans of Outkick. I'm looking forward, I don't know about you, to just kicking back and watching some college football and some NFL this weekend. And that's why I encourage you to go sign up at fanduel.com/Clay. 25-1, $5. You win $125. It's a heck of a deal. $5 to win $125. Go to fanduel.com/Clay. I'll be live tomorrow from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. We got a loaded show for you. Also, no Fox Bet Live today, but we'll be back tomorrow. I appreciate all of you. You can follow me on Twitter and keep tabs on everything that's going on. I got to go pick up my kids at school. FanDuel.com/Clay. Go there right now. FanDuel.com/Clay. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. I am Clay Travis, and this has been Outkick, the show.